You always think in your head, oh man, I could fit well with this guy. But now, that he's here, I'm happy that we're a teammate. I'm happy what he brings on the table, what he brings on this team. He elevates us to a different level. And I'm excited. This is the best team I've ever been a part of.
It's been a hectic handful of months for the Bucks, and to my surprise, the punches don't appear to be slowing up anytime soon. So let's get into it. April 26th, the 1-seeded Milwaukee Bucks would fall to the 8th-seeded Miami Heat in just 5 games. Although Miami was a play-in team, their hunger and underdog mentality wouldn't let them go out sad. The Heat would make it all the way to the NBA Finals before the reign of Nikola Jokic would prove to be too much. But despite Miami's finals berth and formidable postseason, Milwaukee still knew that it was time for a change, with the team's confidence in Coach Bud starting to run a bit thin. May 4th, the Bucks would fire Coach Bud, and May 27th, it would get announced that the Bucks were planning on hiring Toronto Raptors assistant Adrian Griffin as their next head coach. Little did we know this would only be the start of a monumental offseason for Milwaukee. Throughout this summer, the Bucks would go on to fill out their roster, but that's not all that they would do. They would also hire former Blazers head coach Terry Stotts as an assistant. Go figure, months later, the Bucks would then break the NBA by trading for none other than Damian Lillard. Now, what if I told you guys that there has already been some trouble in paradise in Milwaukee? Well, we'll have to get into that, but first, today's content is brought to you guys by Game Time. For me, buying tickets has always been a mixed bag. I can't tell you guys how many times that this whole ticket buying process has stressed me out. This is where Game Time comes in. Game Time is the stress-free, fast, easy, and cheaper way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. Game Time is like a cheat code when it comes to buying tickets. They have great last-minute deals which are offered even an hour after the event starts. They have all-in prices, and they have their lowest price guarantee, which is fantastic if you're trying to find the best deal possible. Check this out. You guys are going to love this one. You can also view your seat from the app. This is by far one of my favorite and most underrated Game Time features. Imagine spending your hard-earned money thinking that you're getting these crazy seats only for your view to be completely trash. Unfortunately, I don't have to imagine that, as it's happened to me. But it wouldn't have if I had been using Game Time. Guys, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code COOP for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. Again, create an account and redeem code COOP for $20 off of your first purchase. Download Game Time today, guys. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Again, guys, I want to give a huge shout out to Game Time for coming through and sponsoring today's content. When the Bucks hired Terry Stotts, who had already previously served time as the Bucks head coach, I thought that the hiring was a grand slam. I thought, what better way to help your highly touted rookie head coach than getting them somebody who has been there and done that before at a very high level? You can say whatever you want about Terry Stotts, but you cannot say that this man doesn't have experience. Before the Blazers and Stotts mutually agreed to go their separate ways in 2021, with Stotts suffering 4 first-round playoff exits in his last 5 seasons, Stotts would amass a 402 and 318 record and a Western Conference Finals appearance as the Blazers head coach through the course of 9 seasons. Stotts' tenure as the Blazers head coach was pretty good, as he made a bunch of great contributions to the Blazers franchise. But perhaps no contribution was greater than the role that he played in the development of Damian Lillard. Under Terry Stotts, Dame would evolve into one of the best point guards that the world has ever seen, and in the process, the two would form a great relationship. When Stotts was fired, Dame would say this about their time together: "Those 9 years were a great 9 years. We had a great relationship. I thought that we got along really well. We experienced a lot of success together. That was a relationship that I cherished and that I wanted to last forever. That was my guy." Dame coming to Milwaukee after Stotts was hired to be Griffin's lead assistant is the type of stuff that basketball dreams are made of. Everything was coming together perfectly and made too much sense until, out of nowhere, everything just went south. October 19th, it would be announced that Terry Stotts would be stepping down from being the Bucks' lead assistant. This news would shock everybody, as nobody saw this coming. Bucks head coach Adrian Griffin, who was shocked by this decision himself, said this when he was questioned about it: "You're going to have to ask Terry. He's a great coach. I really enjoy getting to know him. Terrific person. It was his decision, though. I wish him the best." So that's what Adrian Griffin had to say about this whole ordeal. Let's go ahead and see what Damian Lillard had to say.
I think everybody was kind of surprised by it. It kind of came out of nowhere. But You know, I've been in this league long enough to know that these types of things happen, and you know, everything continues. You know, so you got to kind of process things like this and other things that may come up and continue to move forward. For me, knowing Terry as long as I've known him, you know, playing for him for 9 years, and him also making this transition for me easier, just having a familiar face, be such a huge part of it, was a good thing. And I think now that I'm settling in, to see him go is unfortunate. You know, it's sad to see him go, but like I said, everything is still moving forward.
Now, while Stotts' departure confused everybody, some details would drop shortly following it that would allow us to piece everything together. Reportedly, Stotts had a tense exchange with Bucks head coach Adrian Griffin. Apparently, Adrian Griffin called a coach's huddle after practice and instead, Stotts had better things to do, going over to talk to Giannis and Dame. Stotts would be summoned again, but insisted on being allowed to have more time with these players, which then Griffin used his boss voice and yelled for his assistant to join the group as previously instructed. In this situation, I definitely get both sides. Stotts is a veteran head coach who was hired by the team who just wanted to spend some extra time with his players, which is more than reasonable. Meanwhile, Adrian Griffin is a rookie head coach who just wanted to make sure that he had complete control of his coaching staff. This man probably knows that if you give somebody an inch, eventually they're going to try to take that mile. With Stotts also being a Bucks hire and not a Griffin hire, I can't really imagine that these two had the best relationship. There's also always that chance that Griffin felt threatened by Stotts. A lot of times we see these veteran head coaches hired by franchises as backup plans in case their initial hire goes south. Now mind you that Stotts doesn't intend on retiring, this man still plans to coach. So this wasn't a thing where his heart just wasn't in it anymore. For him, the vibes were just off. Either way, this wouldn't exactly be a good look for Milwaukee. And as we know, Dame didn't really seem too excited to see the situation play out like it did either. Now, with that being said, it was great to see Adrian Griffin celebrate his first W of many. Guys, in the comments below, let me know what you think of this Bucks team. I had them as my favorites to win everything coming into this year. But if their defense plays anything like they did against the Hawks, then I just might have to revisit that. I watched that entire Hawks and Bucks game just so I could continue to follow the breakout of Jalen Johnson. And while I was happy for his production, I really didn't recognize the brand of basketball that the Bucks were playing. Guys, if the Bucks defense ends up being a detriment to their success at any point during this season, then you can bet that we are going to see some nasty Dame versus Drew Holiday takes flying. And while I will always be there for Drew Holiday praise, I don't want to see Dame getting slandered. Guys, again, in the comments below, let me know what you think of everything. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm Get Like Coop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.